Hi, I'm Dave Kale, and welcome to this Christian Business Insights podcast show, where we strive to provide you with principles, practices, and processes to help you build effective kingdom businesses and fulfilled lives. So my question today is, are internal strongholds hindering your success? Are internal strongholds? For much of my adult life, I have had the habit, whenever I had a setback or made a mistake or even remembered a mistake I had made, I had the habit of repeating a series of self-deprecating statements to myself. They seemed to take over my mental space, and they repeated themselves honestly hundreds of times in the course of the day. And some days that burden of repeating those thoughts just submerged me into a puddle of depression and squeezed out any productive work. And I kind of just accepted it. I thought that was just part of me. It's just what I did under certain circumstances. Until one day, I was meditating on this verse. I'm going to quote here 2 Corinthians 10, 3 through 5. Quote, "For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." So understanding that a stronghold in the New Testament is a spiritual concept. It's a deeply entrenched deceptive thought patterns, lies or habits like pride or unforgiveness, lust. And these things exalt themselves against God's knowledge, creating mental and spiritual prisons that people in their own strength can't break out of. They need divine power to demolish them. So then it occurred to me that my self-deprecating mantra was a stronghold. It had its inception by way of a demonic influence. If so, then I could demolish it. But how? So the passage indicates that we already have the weapon to demolish it. There was a clue in the verse, and that clue is, quote, "We take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ." So demolishing strongholds has to do with our mental abilities to control every thought. And so I was reminded of another verse. I'm going to quote Romans 12:2. "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." So I determined to substitute a passage of God's word every time I felt that demonic mantra coming on. And the passage that I settled on one passage, was this. It's Philippians 4 through 8. "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." So if I'm going to think about what was true and noble, etc., I needed to identify some things that met each criteria. So I made a list on a file of all those things to think about: true, noble, right, etc. Made a list. And then I said, okay, now I need to populate that list with things that met that label. And that way, I'd have the necessary fodder to think about. I'd be prepared to think about those things. So what is true? What is noble? So I'm going to research and try to add things under each item. And as I did so, I came up with Jesus for every descriptor. Whatever is true, Jesus. Whatever is noble, Jesus. And on it went. And so for every one of those descriptors, I arrived at Jesus. So, I determined then to think methodically and intentionally about Jesus. But what would that look like? So I went to the Gospel of Luke, just arbitrarily picked one of the Gospels, and I focused on a scene. I read a scene, not a chapter, a scene, an instance where he's doing something. And I began with the 40 days of temptation, then went on to him teaching in the local synagogue, and from there to telling Peter to cast his nets on the other side of the boat, etc. These are all scenes. And now I began to record those scenes. So now I had the fodder. I had the material to, quote, think about what is good, noble, etc. So I began several times a day to stop and picture one of those scenes and reflect on what it told me about Jesus. And spend a month or so, maybe longer. And I have not had a recurrence of the negative mantra since. I have, at least for now, demolished a stronghold. I am more at peace and more productive as a result. And my plan is to repeat this process until all the strongholds that I've been nurturing are demolished. If I can do it, what about you? Suppose that you have strongholds that are weakening you, distracting you, and leaving you in a negative frame of mind. What if you have not had the success that you believe the Lord has for you due to the impact of the strongholds in your life? Could you not identify those strongholds and then methodically and intentionally demolish them? And would that not free you to exercise the gifts and abilities that you have to unleash the Lord's potential for you, your career, and your business? Would that not be the case? So demolishing the strongholds in your life may be the most powerful thing you can do to unleash the potential within you. Okay? Hey, before I go, I would just encourage you to check out something I call the XI library. XI stands for Excellence and Influence. Excellence and Influence. And this is a library where I am compiling eventually all my content. But at the moment, we probably have 100 short courses, half hour to an hour in length on various subjects like this. And business and sales and sales leadership and so on. Lots of stuff there. So anyway, check it out. It's you get access to everything, $19 a month. It's really a deal. Okay, I'll put a link in the show notes. That's it. We're done. Bye bye.